Hey guys, Darren Collier, Coach of Wise Pods, and welcome back to my round 2 team review. What a weekend of footy we had over the weekend. It was a shocker to start off with, I think, I can say for the majority of the fantasy community. I was feeling pretty blue after the Friday night game where we've had two players, particularly, that went horrible to start off with, which we'll discuss in a second. But the team somehow crawled back and scrounged to a decent score over the weekend. Not amazing, but I still managed to move up this week. So we'll get straight into how my team performed. So I scored the 1844 in round 2, which was a round rank of 9,231, and I moved up just over 3,000 spots this week. So still moving in the right direction, which is a nice position to be in, and again, still a much better position than I was in last week. But I guess what we want to talk straight away off the top is Harry Perriman and Ollie Hollands was the guys that I was alluding to from the Thursday and Friday night games, back-to-back 40s, one night after another, just made it seem like my team was so far off where I was expecting it to be, and two guys that I was pretty bullish on that they would go well, particularly Ollie Hollands. He's been on my side a lot of the preseason since we got the news that he was going into this such a luxurious halfback role, and we had seen in the back half of last year that he can be a lot better than what he's showing. He's just not getting there at the moment. So here is a big problem and something that we may need to address shortly. So he gets my -3, Ollie Hollands there. Harry Perriman, as much as a 43 is absolutely deplorable, we saw what he was able to do last week. I think it was a 49. So it really wasn't a huge surprise when he's not playing the best role. And I guess he has a bit of an excuse with Reef McInnes going down in the early minutes of that game, which made the obvious decision that Harry Perriman has played a halfback role, a defensive role previously. He's the one that goes back and does that role and didn't see a single CBA through the entire game on that Friday night. So that was really disappointing to see, and he just didn't seem to get amongst the chip and +6s in the halfback either. Every touch he had to really earn, so which is really disappointing. So both of them have to go. Harry Perriman probably at the top of the list because he is on his bye now. So that was definitely be a pretty high priority this week, and he did drop a massive 41k this week in a high break even. So he is definitely one that needs to go. But my +3, to put it on a bit of a positive note, Jack Macrae, he is just absolutely back. 153. We have to look at him as a captain option now. It was always about the role. We just needed to see it in a big performance like this to have the confidence to back him as the C option. So he'll be a big option this week. I think he'll probably be one of the highest captain options rolling into next week because he plays against the nicest matchup in Richmond. So it could not have been a more perfect time for him to put up that big score. So he is going to be one that is very highly owned and very highly captained this week against them. So have your plan set. Already looking forward to it, but yeah, stay tuned for the captain video. But spoiler alert, he's probably up there at number 1. I think that will be pretty common across the competition. So yeah, no need to stress about that one. 153 is just enormous, and he's back. So really happy with that. Looking at my VC and C options, so I did go with Dawson as the VC option. Really happy with his 134 against... Who was it against then? Who was it against again? The Essendon Bombers. Didn't really get any sort of attention really at all. Like, I thought maybe a Durham would run with him, but I guess what is coming true is that he just has such a flexible role. He rolls around the ground anyway, and he can't get much attention. Scored the 134 without kicking any goals. Had a little bit lower time on ground this week. I think they're slowly starting to manage a few players. Isaac Rankin is another one that I'll mention who did get subbed out, which hurt my score a fair bit this week. But yeah, overall, I was really happy with Dawson's 134. But I did have a little bit bittersweet the fact that I was going to roll it into Connor Rosie. Congratulations to anyone that rolled, that denied Dawson's 134 and went with the Connor Rosie, just backing him to be bit better. I didn't do it. I was happy with 134, banking that points. I was a bit concerned that Connor Rosie may get a bit of attention from what's his name? Why is it blanking right now? McIntosh, but that didn't seem to happen at all. McIntosh was instead of run free, which I guess rolls us into my trade review, which I must say was terrible in hindsight. Trading at Marek McIntosh, I always had a bad feeling about it, but he just seemed like the obvious option in my midfield to go at that point in time. Hindsight is great, but yeah, obviously I would have liked to keep him at this point in time because he went up 44k after scoring 88 and was the highest scorer for Richmond Football Club on the weekend. So he is having an absolute great start of the season. But yeah, unfortunately, I did trade him out and probably goes good again this weekend against St Kilda. So big, big mistake trade there from me. So that's a bit of a waste of trade, unfortunately. But I did need to grab Lindsay, so I'm glad I grabbed him. He went up to 75k, but in hindsight, I should have traded out Will Day, like I was sort of planning to. But unfortunately can't take that back now. So that one. Sam Taylor to Joel Frazier worked out pretty well. I'm really happy with that one. Joel Frazier is still playing that sort of mostly midfield role, which is very nice. He's going up a fair bit in cash, 33k on the weekend. Scored 75, so not the heights of what he'd done previously, but 75 is still very, very solid back there. So I'm really happy with that trade. But yeah, definitely need to start improving my trades to not waste the cash that I would have made anyway. So got to improve that if I want to be up there again this year. Quickly, let's go through player by player. Just give quick notes on them. Jane Shaw, 85, just consistent again with an 85. Not showing the ceilings that we want to just yet, but has had a couple of tough matchups. He should go really well this week against St Kilda. If he doesn't get it against St Kilda, like a decent triple figures, then he potentially becomes a bit of a problem where we potentially can move him out. But at this point in time, he's not dropping cash, but he's also not making us cash. So he's a bit of a nothing pick at this point in time. So if you were in a really luxurious position, then potentially look at moving him on in the next couple of weeks. But don't trade him out this week. Obviously, St Kilda is a very nice matchup for defenders, so hold him there. Roberts, 95, has a bye this week, but he is moving up in average and moving up in coin a fair bit. He went up 20k on the weekend, 60k overall this season. So he is worth holding through the bye, particularly because I don't think many of us have many bye players this week, particularly. I only have the one after I trade out Perryman. So yeah, that's more than enough to be worth a hold. Miles Bergman only scored the 86, and I say only because it was against Richmond, and a lot of the other defenders, like your Farrells, your Evans, and I think even Sin went over triple figures. So to see that those three went over triple figures is pretty frustrating, and it doesn't give me a huge amount of confidence that the role that Bergman is playing currently is conducive to scoring. So he is a bit of an issue, but the fact that he scored quite well over the weekend means that he probably survives one more week for me, just given that break even's about where we averaged previously. So hopefully he can hit that. And I am fingers crossed hoping that Radaglia sort of comes into the side and then takes that second tall defender that back there, and that frees up Bergman a fair bit. So fingers crossed that happens. But yeah, he may be a bit of a future problem that I need to address at some point. But he probably survives this week against Essendon. Harry Perryman, as I've already discussed, played the half-back role as a defensive lockdown player, scored the 43, dropped 41k. On the bye this week is the one that I absolutely need to trade out because he has a lot of money on his head and I want those points on field while also getting price rise at the same time. So, and I guess that's a sort of a discussion point that we all need to look at this week is Harry Perryman worth trading out if you've got another player like an Ollie Hollands or a Will Day that you expect they're not going to hit their break evens, 83 break even for Will Day and a 74 break even for a Hollands. You got to question, do they both hit that and are they going to drop coin? Whereas a Perryman is obviously not going to drop anything because he's not playing, right? So it's just weighing up, is it worth taking that little bit of a hit in terms of price rise or price drop from these two players to have the points on field? Or is it worth trading a Harry Perryman trying to get those extra points and get the points on field and take the hit? Or do you do it the opposite way where you trade out a Ollie Hollands to avoid that price drop, and then you have to trade out a Perryman next week because obviously he will drop again next week. So yeah, it's just having that forced trade going on. So it's just trying to arrange trades. But in my opinion, I'm just looking to trade out Harry Perryman. I don't love that I may hold Hollands this week, but he does have the Western Bulldogs, which is a nice matchup for defenders. So I'm fingers crossed that he can get close to his 74 break even. But again, he hasn't got anywhere near that. Also, he got 72 on the first week against Richmond, which again, it's Richmond, so not is the easiest matchup in mankind at this point in time. So maybe a 60 is more realistic for Hollands. It's just hard to deny that he has the most luxurious position in all fantasy, and he just does not know how to use it at this point in time. So he'll be one to I may hold this week, but we'll wait and see how that sort of looks in my trade preview. Joel Fraser, 75, happy with how he's going with that in that midfield role. He's still got a low break even, so definitely worthwhile still jumping on him if you don't have him. And if you're looking for another defender, he's still a downgrade from a Harry Perryman, so that's pretty much a straight swap, gaining about 20k. SDK is an interesting one. If you don't have him, I do not recommend grabbing him. Just with the news that Tom Stewart is a bit injured at the moment. Even though he is a test to play this week, there's still the potential that the likes of Sam de Koning may spend a bit more time down back in the next couple of weeks, especially if they bring in was it Stanley? Oh, what's his name? I don't remember his first name. Anyways, his name's Stanley. If he comes back in, then obviously the ruck roll will diminish, and that means Sam de Koning will go back to his sort of 40, 50 scoring ways, and that would obviously not be great. But for those that do have him, it's definitely worth holding on to him because he does have a 32 break even, so he still has the potential to make money. So no point jumping off out of shadows just yet. It's definitely worth just riding it. If he drops a stinky one, then you trade him out next week. The defender rookies both just did enough. Reed is a big first half scorer. I think he was on 41 points at the half again this week, and just put up 10 points in the second half, which is just ridiculous. He loves to play the first half and does nothing else. If he can put 4 quarters together, then he can score an 80, but yeah, just doesn't know how to do that just yet. But he is still a potential to be dropped. Again, his game was severely very poor, kicking under pressure and turning over a fair bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was to be dropped. But yeah, fingers crossed he can put it together for one more week, because I do want to hold on to him. And I just hope he makes money because he's got such a low break even, and I do want to hold him for that round 4 bye, just so I have a guaranteed looping option just in case Harry Boyd does come back into the side, which I doubt that happens at this point in time. Luke Trainer, 33, was a little disappointing. His break even has gone up a fair bit, only making the 22k on the weekend. But again, St Kilda this weekend should mean a bit more points for him if he can stay within the side. So no point jumping at Shadows just yet. I know there are a couple of the other defender rookies that a lot of people are sort of looking at the moment, which I will talk about in the trade mode video. But yeah, I'm not worth no point jumping at these, jumping off these two just yet to get to those two. I don't think they're all making money. Yes, not as much money, but I think we all have different priorities in our team at this point in time. Moving into the midfield, Jordan Dawson is just absolutely killing it at the start of the season. I think he's averaging 130 in his first 2 games, and he's got North Melbourne this week, which on paper you think it would be a nicer matchup, but they're playing some pretty good footy at the moment, so it will be interesting to see how he goes in that. But again, he'll be a good captain option this week. Connor Rosie, very similar to Jordan Dawson, averaging about 130 this season, so he has been a massive pick to start the year. Essendon this week, so again, he should go very well. We saw what Jordan Dawson was able to do. I do think Rosie's probably a little bit more taggable than a Jordan Dawson, so it could be a sneaky VC option on the Thursday night, but we'll wait and see on the captain video. Probably an interesting one with Rosie. If you're keen on trading in a Primo, he's probably worthwhile to trade into. He's still got a very nice run to come up. I get a couple harder ones in the middle here, but for majority of the part of it, he's still probably got a good 6 or 7 game streak to go, so definitely worthwhile. He can make a bit more money, but at the end of the day, this is probably about what I expect him to finish on in terms of his priced out figure. He's probably priced out already at that 102, 103, even a 105 at that price tag, so you're paying for what you get. Will Day is definitely one that, in my opinion, is either you're trading out now or you're holding for 6 or 7 weeks, because again, he's got a really nice run after the bye, particularly a good 5-week stretch after Port Adelaide. But I do have some concerns that he will get tagged. Obviously, Bedford is highly known that that's probably going to happen. I'd be extremely surprised if that doesn't happen, and it may go to the likes of a Newcomb, who's been killing it again so far this season. So they could be doing something a bit funky there. And maybe they even put a Callahan as like a run with role a little bit. It would be an interesting matchup, but I'm worried about the Bedford tag. We have seen how damaging that can be. Port Adelaide have Willem Drew, so that's probably something that will happen. And the Cats potentially may use O'Connell on Will Day as well. So potentially 3 tags coming up in the next couple of weeks, including the bye. So that's a month of footy that you're holding a guy that potentially puts up 60 and averages 60 over that period of time. So it's probably going to drop coin as well. So I'm heavily looking at trading him out this week, my boy. But yeah, he's unfortunately going to go. Oliver, 114. I'm so glad he came through this week and has such a good run that he is a worthwhile hold. I'm so glad he's come through because, yeah, we want to see him playing his best footy because we know how good he can be. So he looked great on the weekend, 36 touches, kicked a goal. He probably should have got more tackles than what he got, but North Melbourne were all over Melbourne in that game, so that was interesting to see. But he's got a great run coming up, so he is worthwhile hold. And if you don't have him, I still think it's worthwhile jumping on him. You know, he's 55% owned, so if you don't have him, you're just missing out on the boat, and it is a lot of points, a lot of value he's got on his head to miss out on. He's potentially a keeper as well, so definitely worthwhile jumping on there if you don't have him. Ollie Hollands I've already spoken about, but yeah, he's definitely one that if you're in the position that you can trade him out, definitely do it. He is very lowly owned now, so it is a bit of a unique to hold on to him, but I can just see him going big this week if he can put together a full performance and, you know, the team, Colton, actually play well, which you think they got to bounce back eventually. It could be a lot due to this man. And I think what I failed to assess last week is that obviously with Hawthorn they have a lot of small forwards, which probably should have triggered something to say that, oh, they're obviously going to have to play a bit more of a lockdown role on the main 4 small forwards, right? So that would have led Holly Hollands to be a bit more of a lockdown defender rather than be this free-flowing defender that can rack up the ball and just be that distributor, right? So I'm thinking against Western Bulldogs, they probably don't have as much what's it called, small forward power up there. I was trying to find a better word than that, but yeah, I don't think he'll play as much of a lockdown role this week. So I'm fingers crossed because I'm looking at holding him that he can go a lot better and he can potentially hit his break even. And then again, probably something I address next week unless he can really start ticking from there. And yeah, I still hold out hope that he can be a bit better because he still has quite a nice run. As I've said, Carl, sorry, why can't I get his names right now? Pies, Eagles, North, Geelong, Crows, St Kilda is a really nice stretch. So it's probably do or die for him. If he can put a four-quarter performance together on the weekend, then he potentially is going to be a hold for me. But at this point in time, I am making my plans to trade him out next week. Ojo scores great again, but if you don't have him, potentially be a bit concerned about trading him in because Hayden Young is due back in a week or 2, so that would mean a bump in his role and putting him probably a bit more on the outside, so be concerned about that, but he's got a great matchup this week, so I can't fault anyone trading him in, but I probably do prefer the likes of a Nevitt, has a better role in my opinion and probably has a better job security. Levi Ashcroft and Lindsay put up very decent scores with 74 and 80. Great making cash, and if you don't have either of them, I do highly recommend you jump onto them because they're going to be guys that we can have on field for a little while longer, probably a good month or so until they top out and cash. They're making great money. Both have very low break evens. Murphy Reid put up a nice 50 to make some coins, so happy to see that after what he was able to do last week. So, yep, and got the Eagles this week, so I'm glad I've got him. Lucas Camporelli was a bit annoying because he did get subbed out in that game on 30 at halftime, roughly. So he was on track for a good 60, but unfortunately did get subbed out. Hopefully he's good to go this week and doesn't get subbed out and he can continue his money-making ways, or he may become a bit of a problem soon. Cherry against Gorn did exactly what we sort of expected, and he put up a bit of a lower score. He did win the that matchup against him. I think Gorn only scored like a 63, so that meant he's going to drop a fair bit in coin, but Cherry does now have a high break even. Hopefully he can rectify that against the likes of Riley O'Brien, who isn't a great matchup, but isn't the worst matchup at the same time. So hopefully he's improved his ruck craft from last year and he can get that break even a bit lower and not reduce as too much coin so people can't jump onto him. But yeah, keep an eye on that one if you don't have on him, because I think it's probably pretty clear now that Rowan Marshall and Cherry are going to be the top two ruckman this year. Obviously, Rowan Marshall came back this week and absolutely went bang, being the number one ruck again. So if you're in a bit of a trouble with your rucks at the moment, if you didn't start with the either ruck setup of Cherry or Gorn and then Tom de Koning, then there's potential that you can just jump on Marshall this week with his reduced cash being about 66k down at the moment, and he does have a high break even, but I think he can easily eclipse that this week against Nank there, so he'll definitely do that. I think he scored like 142 twice against Nank last year, so he should easily hit that break even and probably go up in cash this week. So this is about the cheapest you'll get him. Harry Boy didn't play. Tom de Koning, I didn't mention him, but he went really well. Again, probably still a 3-4 weeks sort of play with Pitnet away. So, yeah, keep that note of that you're going to have to trade him out shortly. But he is generally making good coin. I wouldn't trade him in, though, if you don't have him. I'd look elsewhere. This is where my team sort of hurt this week with my two primo forwards not performing as well as they should. Jason Horne-Francis, I can't believe I got tricked into bloody starting him after I was so negative about him all year, all preseason. I knew he was going to do this to me, but I got sucked in, and that's my own fault. He is just plummeting in cash right now, and everyone's going to get him much cheaper. That didn't start with him, so great play to anyone that didn't start him. He is just dropping in coin, and potentially is not going to trade out. I don't think is one that I'm just going to hold through the entire season, because I do believe he's going to be top 6 forward, but we need to see him back in the middle a lot more than what he was on the weekend, not playing this deep forward role, just because they had Lukosius go down fairly early. I don't know why they placed a tall forward with the likes of Horne-Francis. He's not tall and he's not particularly strong in the contest either, so it made no sense to me, but hopefully they bring in like a Finlayson and then that just frees up Horne-Francis to go back into the middle. In rack up, he's got Essendon and St Kilda coming up, so hopefully he can redeem himself and not drop too much more coin. Rankin, as I said up the top, he did get subbed out on that 70 about 5 minutes into the third quarter, so he was on track for a pretty decent ton. If not, it was going to be like on track for 120. So he's been a great pick. Unfortunately, I didn't really jump up on coin too much, so he didn't really get away from anyone. I do apologise for anyone that did trade him in off my advice. I know I had a few questions in there that I did recommend Rankin last week, but unfortunately we don't have control of those sort of things. But he should go well again this week against North Melbourne. He's still a great trading target at that price, and he should go up well. So definitely still a target there. Jack McRae already spoke about. Don't need to speak about Stone. He didn't play with the bye. He'll be back this week. So he still has a low break even though with 4 now. Cav Daniel 114. He's just an absolute monkey back there. He just knows how to get the ball no matter where he is. So that is great to see. Even in a winning game, he just found a way to get the ball. So that was awesome to see. And then sort of just with the news that Bailey Smith was out, I did hold him in the end. I did play around with looking at trading him out, but there was no way I could trade him out and get to the likes of Lindsay, which I really needed. I didn't want to miss out on that rookie because that really hurt me last year, not owning the particularly good rookies. So I just thought, okay, Bailey Smith can be a hold and I'll assess this week. It has recently come out that he's potentially going to be playing this week. He'll be a test to play. So even with best 18, he's worthwhile holding this week, and if he's going to play next week. So I think that's a worthwhile pick. We all know he's going to be around that top 6 mark anyway, but I don't discourage anyone that wants to play a bit more aggressive, and if their team is in a much better position than mine, to move off of him. And then Finn O'Sullivan scored the 33 and is becoming a bit of a problem. He does have a nice role though. He was taking kickouts in this game, so very unusual. I hope he can put up a monster score very shortly so you don't have to trade him out. So fingers crossed there he can do that, or he will have to go in the coming weeks. Quickly touching on these other two, they both counted on my. They both went on my field this week. Disappointed with Joe Berry. I think he was on track for a very decent score. I think he was on like 41 points after the half and just didn't do much in the second half at all. But he's making some coin, not very quickly. Like I said, he's a bit of a slow burn. Definitely, hopefully, he can get a bit more scoring in the next couple of weeks and jump up his pricing quickly. Because yeah, I'm missing out on the likes of Hull, and probably not going to get a Ted Closey this week, which I will talk about in the next video. But quickly, just going through some of my problem areas. So this week, like I said, I've got Harry Perryman, Will Day, and Ollie Hollands are probably my main issues that I need to address urgently. I'd suggest the other issues that I potentially have is Bergman is going to be an issue soon. Same with Sam de Koning, potentially if they bring in the Ruck there. And that's probably about it in my opinion. So I don't have as many issues as a lot of other people with the likes of Sanders, Garcia, and whatnot. So my team seems like it's in a pretty good position. The team value is pretty damn good. I'll move to this week now, and we'll have a quick look at where my preview trades are. So I am looking at trading at Will Day, going down to Mitch Nevitt, jumping on top of him. He's averaging 91 at the moment. He scored 80 over the weekend and was, I think, the second or third highest scorer for Geelong on the weekend. The news is that there's going to be a very wet game against Brisbane, so I think he can get plenty of +4s on the weekend and get plenty of touches. So, yeah, I'm hoping he can go well there. Break him in at 8, so he's still got plenty of money to make. I think he probably has 200 to 250k still to make if he can continue averaging 80. Maybe 75 is more realistic, but even at that, he's still going to make 200k in my opinion. So he's definitely worthwhile jumping on and getting those points on field. So a simple downgrade from him gives me 300k, and that allows me to go Harry Perryman up to Zane Zorko. I am still tossing up between Dane Zorko or saving a bit of coin and going to Wanganeen Malira. I'm just tossing up whether it's better to go with a Dane Zorko who has the best run that you can possibly have in football at this point in time for like what 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7-8 weeks there. So it's tossing up whether I want to go with that or I go with the likes of a Wanganeen Malira, who doesn't have the best run but does have Richmond this week, so probably goes really well. Then he's got Port Adelaide and GWS, who are a bit tougher matchups. Bulldogs in the middle, which is a nice one, and then a couple of difficult ones in the middle as well. So not the greatest the greatest matchups coming. So I don't know if I see the ceiling there, where he's had 2 easier matchups so far. I just want, weighing up, is that extra K worth paying up for Zorko, who can go massive. So at this point in time, I have Zorko, and he potentially could be even a captain option this week, but I'll evaluate that later along the week. But yeah, that sort of is the way that I see my team at this point in time. Yeah, I've gone way too long in this video already. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow in trade mode. So please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys then. See you later.